All right. Welcome, everyone. I want to introduce Katia Dean. So she's coming from Northern Virginia. She's a system engineer and a project manager at a aerospace and defense company. She's also the owner of Katia's Sci Life, and she does resume writing and stuff like that for cybersecurity and IT. She has the undergraduate degree from Cleveland State University and electronics engineering. She has a master's in science and cybersecurity technology from University of Maryland University College, and she's a professional speaker. And I would like to turn this over to Katia Dean.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Mo, for having me speak to your students today. I'm very excited to discuss resume services for a college student and also give you all tips about job searching in 2021 because times have changed and you all have to be hip about what's going on. So I'm going to share my screen with my presentation. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so once again, everyone, welcome to my resume writing presentation for college students. Once again, my name is Katia Dean. An overview today, my bio, the most common resume mistakes that I see often, example of resumes with tips, job searching, tips, and then also live resume feedback and Q&A. So who is Katia? I actually established my personal brand Voice of Cyber Pros when I found myself unemployed during 2018 and 2019. And I basically shared my whole experience navigating the job search, looking for a job again in cybersecurity. And I was unemployed for 9 months, which led me to establishing my business, KTS Life, which is a cybersecurity resume business to help up and coming professionals, students, people that's transitioning into cyber, and then seasoned professionals as into cybersecurity as well. Because I share my story so much, I ended up authoring my first ebook that is called The Struggle is Real, a blueprint to excelling into the cybersecurity discipline, where I share my experience. I also share 9 other cybersecurity professionals to let everyone know that there is no linear path to get into cybersecurity. You could get into cybersecurity a lot of different ways. And due to me being active online and sharing my story, in 2020, I actually won the ISC Square Global Rising Star Award from ISC Square that I'm very, very proud of, and that I'm still shocked that I have that to today because that was a very huge accomplishment that I was not expecting at all. So most common resume mistakes that I see is that the resume summaries is a mistake that I see often, which I will have an example on a bad resume summary and then a good one. The font size, resume templates, repeated action verbs, and then just listing job duties. So one of the most common mistakes that I see is a bad resume summary and then a great one. So here I found this example online, but I mostly see this a lot when I have a lot of student resumes as well. So normally you're a student, you really don't know what to say. You don't have too much to say. Normally I see, I don't care who it is, anyone out there that say, I'm a student and I want to find an opportunity where I could grow, something along those lines. But that's not really helping you getting a job because you're not telling the employee or the company who you are, like what have you accomplished so far, what type of projects had you done in school, or if you had an internship or anything like that. So a great resume summary that I have right here, you could start off with your major. For example, if you're a cyber forensics student, you would just say, I'm a cyber forensics student from this university, and for this example, it's a computer science. They're passionate about software applications. And for here, you could note a project that you did that you were very proud of. And the reason why you want to know a project that you did is because one, you will be able to speak to that project. It'll show your skills, you're knowledgeable in that subject area, and then you won't stumble as much. And then you want to say seeking to assist whatever the company, or sometimes you don't even have to note the company because you could just have a generic statement and just say company, and then note the type of role you are looking for. And in this case, it's a software engineer. And then you could put as well as develop and here my own skills as a coder. So these are just common mistakes that I see. Resume summary is great to go with the second example because one is stating the type of student you are, your university, a project that you're working on, and then you also letting the company know the type of role that you're seeking. So make sure when you are doing your summary that you really want to think about the type of role that you're going for and the type of projects that you're working on so you could get past at least to the interviewing stage. Another mistake that I see often is resume templates. And I have two examples here. The first one is a typical Microsoft template that irks my soul. And the reason why is because here, the first section is a table. And the reason why this is bad is because if you upload your resume on an ATS system, sometimes some companies have not updated their system all the way. So if you upload your resume, that format could be completely messed up. And now your table is discombobulated and it's all over the place. And another thing I don't like about this template as well is the dots on the side. That's a little bit distracting. It's not really helping you at all. So I advise do not pick this template on Microsoft. Just stay away from it. Now the second example is actually a client resume that I recently had to revamp. And for this particular example, I would like someone to note, if you can notice, from the mistakes I said before in this example, what mistakes do you see in this example? Anyone? Sorry, I cannot see the chat, so you're going to have to unmute yourself. Anybody?
The format's inconsistent.
Yes, that's one. Does anybody else have any other examples? Okay, so one person mentioned the format, which is correct. Another thing is because I look at resumes all the time. If you all can notice, the fonts are two different styles of font. So this font is, I think, the Garmin font, and this is a different font. And it's also two different sizes. So a recruiter or a hiring manager looking at this would show, okay, this person is not paying attention to detail. They didn't even take the time to make sure that their resume was in the same format. So this would probably get you in the no pile as well. So sometimes little mistakes like that will get you in the, I'm going to say, the no pile. Another example or mistake that I see often is here, the person currently works there, but I see this all the time. So if you all look at the action verb, it's in the past tense. So if you're out there, be mindful. If you currently work at a position, you want to make sure that your action verbs is in the correct tense. So instead of saying the ed, it will actually be current. So S, so resolves, dialogues, oversees, and trains. So make sure that your action verbs have the correct tense as well.
Yeah, Katia, this is Mo. So I see a few other things like look if you look at the third bullet under key bank, security and there's no space in between there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the fourth bullet, there's extra spaces. The spacing between the words are different, and then approximately is not the correct
Mm-hmm.
acronym for that. So it seems
Yes.
rushed. So if I was a manager, I'm like, okay, this person rushed.
Yes, that is correct. So Dr. Mo, he had a lot of good statements. So once again, a lot of people they rush with their resume, they just put anything on there and they just say, okay, let me apply the job. So you're wondering, I don't know why I'm not getting calls back because your resume could somewhat look like this. And that's why you come to me so I can help you out. But this is just a good example. So key things, make sure that you do not rush when you're doing your resume. Be mindful of the font size. Make sure that they are the same size. Be mindful of spacing. Use spell check. I highly recommend using Grammarly. Grammarly saves my life all the time. Use that. That will help you out a lot to check for spelling errors. These are some resources that I use that I will actually do a live demo later on. For the resource that I use for job searching in general, a new one I just found is called Built In. And this website, I'm going to do a demo. What I really like about this website is that's for remote and startup companies. And now, since the world is a hot mess and remote, honestly, is where it's at, this is a good site to look for remote jobs and also look for companies that's not so popular and you will actually be in less competition with people that want to work at the big tech companies. AngelList is another job searching board that if you want to look for startups. Ninja Jobs is a cybersecurity job board which basically have all cybersecurity jobs related, like anything cyber related that you go to that research. LinkedIn, LinkedIn, you really want to use LinkedIn. I know some people out there probably just have a LinkedIn profile and it's just there. With me and my profile, which I will do a demo later on, I had my profile for 6 years. I didn't really do anything with it. And I realized when I actually started getting active on it, which was 2 years ago, LinkedIn actually worked for me. And that's how I was able to build my personal brand, Voice of Cyber Pros, on LinkedIn, and then networking and also jobs on LinkedIn as well. Another thing that I learned with job searching now, because everything is remote, is any app that you have on your phone is now your go-to for information networking. Slack, hypothetically speaking, if the university has a career fair going on and the company says, hey, we have a Slack channel, get accepted to that Slack channel, network with the people in there. Discord, Clubhouse now, Twitter Spaces. I just got hit to Twitter Spaces because the people I follow on Twitter has a lot of great information. Sometimes they talk about random topics, but you never know what information you might find. Twitter Spaces is another good one. Facebook groups depends on how much you use Facebook. Facebook groups is also another great resources, and especially online events. So now everything is virtual. We have a lot of virtual career fairs. Online events is very popular. Last week I attended the Blacks in Technology Career Fair that was on Hopin, and I was able to interact with different recruiters there and get accepted to different Slack channels for different companies. So use your resources online. Your phone is your best friend for job searching now, and also resumes. And for contact information, if you need any resume services, it's katia@sidelife.tech. You can follow me on LinkedIn, and I have a YouTube channel. So since you all are students, you all will pick my student package that's on my website. So now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to do the live feedback for the students that hopefully that's here, but if they're not, they're still going to get feedback. And then after that, I'm going to show the built-in website so you all can just get familiar with it, and then any Q&A at the end. Okay, so I'm not for sure if Antonio is here. Is he here?
Antoine is not
Antoine, I'm
here.
sorry. Okay, well,
But
yeah,
he'll see this definitely.
okay, great. Okay, so for Antoine resume, we're going to do a live demo. So as I mentioned before in the presentation, one, we don't want to do an objective. We want to do a summary. Now for Antoine, he's actually transitioning from a different industry. For him, it is the medical side, so healthcare industry. And anyone out there, you have the transferable skills to get into cybersecurity. And I'm going to tell you why. So for Antoine, his industry is healthcare. I don't know what kind of classes he's doing. However, if he wanted to focus on his job search, he would focus on the healthcare industry. And the reason why is because he has knowledge in that area. So he already understands some HIPAA standards, medical terminology, the policies, the standards within cybersecurity. So he'd be able to bridge that gap.
So Katia, so he
Yes.
is doing a master's. He's basically doing our master's in cybersecurity ITM program, the
Mm-hmm.
bachelor's and master's combination. So he's in the graduate portion. He's doing the master's part right now,
Okay.
and he's studying for the Security Plus. So he aims to take the Security Plus within the next 90 days.
Okay. I'm gonna talk offline about Security Plus. Yeah. I have my own thoughts on that. I would. I know it's being recorded. I'll talk about that at the end. Great, thank you. His skills and abilities, I will honestly change this to area of expertise. For him, I will only focus on what he is learning in his master programs and bachelor's program. Also, if you're a student, you want to add your projects or either your coursework to your resume. The reason why is because when you go out there, they're going to say you need to have years of experience. We already know how I'm going to get a job. I don't have the years of experience. However, if you add your projects, one, that's showing you're learning something. Two, you could speak to those projects, showing your knowledge as well. And depending on the hiring manager, they'll give you a job. Once again, it's not an overnight success, but adding those projects actually help you out a lot. I actually had a client recently. I did her resume a couple of months ago. She ended up getting an interview and a job offer with my resume revamp, and she was a student. And I added her coursework and her projects to her resume. And the hiring manager had actually inboxed me and said, Katia, I just want to give you kudos because I really liked how you did her resume. You highlighted her projects in school, and it was very clean and straight to the point. So I want to make sure that you all understand. Please add those projects in your coursework because they will help you out a lot. Now for his experience, these are one of those things where you come from the healthcare, you have to really revamp your resume a lot. So for example, collects patient vitals and transcribe information into patient chart. You're going for a cyber job. They're not going to care about that. Now, to revamp this, what he could do is he could say, or think about how did you secure the patient's data? So what type of policies you had to use or what database you had to use to input the patient's data. So basically this whole section would need a revamp. He would have to take out anything mentioned about vitals because we don't care. And that's not going to help him get a cyber job either. Now, for the support nurses and other clinical staff with patient care, you can revamp that and say collaborate with senior level management on like medical expertise or something like that. If you want to say for this one, monitors inventory of supplies. Another thing for resumes, they want to show accomplishments as well or data. So for example, if he had a roundabout number of how many supplies he had to inventory, so let's just say monitors 100 supplies and reduce inventory or kept track of inventory in a database. Excuse me. That's how you will revamp this to show quantitative data within your resume. Now, as I mentioned before, in my common mistakes in a resume, right now, this is just listing the duties that you performed at a job. You actually want to show some accomplishments. So hypothetically speaking, let's say you had the same job for, let's say, 5 years. So what did you accomplish in those 5 years at that job? So think about that when you're writing your resume, even if you're a student. Or let's just say you was on a job for 6 months. What did you accomplish within those 6 months? Even if you think it's something small. Maybe the hiring manager gave you a lead on a project. That was one project you led. So you could say spearheaded a project with business analysts, engineers on a software product. So one, that's showing leadership skills because you led a project, and then two, you did accomplish something. Excuse me. For this, he was a supervisor at FedEx. I would honestly take this all off and actually eliminate these roles, and I would honestly just focus on, for his resume in general, really focused on what you are doing in your master's and bachelor's program. So for him, he would need to revamp. He would need to add his cybersecurity degrees on here. For the certification that he's studying for, anyone out there that is studying for a cert, you can add a section that says certifications. You note the certification, and you can either write in progress or when you think you might get the cert. And another thing for anyone that's studying for certifications, it's great to study for a certification. However, if you don't have the experience for that cert, then you need to add the hands-on project that you're doing. So anytime you're studying for a cert, I don't care whatever e-learning you use, you're going to have a lab. So let's just say you had to scan for vulnerabilities. You're going to add a project, scan for vulnerabilities. You can name it scan for vulnerabilities, the name. You're going to have 3 bullet points noting how did you scan for those vulnerabilities. So you want to note the tool that you use, how did you detect the logs, and you just want to make sure that you're adding the hands-on exercises to your resume as well. Because some people are great test takers, but can you speak to that cert that you earn? So be mindful of that. It's good to have a cert, but make sure that you could speak to what you learned as well while you were studying for that cert. So that's my little feedback on his resume. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm actually going to bring up Karen's resume, which is one of your students that I just did recently. I'm going to bring up her resume. And you all are getting the exclusive of how my formats actually are for resumes. So kudos to y'all. So let me pull that up. Okay, I'm just making sure I blur her name. Okay, so this is Karen's resume. I just did hers over the weekend. As I mentioned before, I added her education right here. I added area expertise, which is AKA skills. I asked her could she give me some projects that she worked on at school. I noted here a student, the college, I'm sorry, the university. I noted 2 projects, which is ethical hacking and then perform passive, I can never pronounce this word, so forgive me, reconnaissance, recognizes. I cannot pronounce that word, so forgive me. I added that to her resume for her professional experience. Now, for Karen, she comes from a banking background or AKA fintech background, so financial and technology background. And that is another industry that you all could look into for jobs as well because they need people. Now, when I was talking to Karen, I said, "Hey, Karen, did you do anything with fraud?" And she said, "Yes." So it's actually a job out there that's called fraud specialist, which is in cybersecurity as well, because hey, we gotta detect fraud out there. So anybody out there, if you have a banking background, you can get into cybersecurity. You could your knowledge that you already have, transfer it and get a fraud specialist job, I think it's called, or either compliance, risk analyst job, but you would just be on your industry is just fintech. So be mindful of that. As I said before, if you have any other industry experience, you already have the transferable skills. You just need to know what job I could pivot to into cybersecurity and use that knowledge. Now, what I want to note here as well, when I was trying to describe quantitative data, for her, I did a roundabout. Okay, she helped 1,000+ customers. Great. She reduced incidents by 50%. And she had, of course, customer service experience as well. And I did that by 100%. So you just want to make sure not everything has to be quantitative, but if you have 1 or 2 statements that's quantitative, that'll help you out as well in building your resume. And another rule of thumb is that for students, if you have probably about just say 2 years of experience, normally your resume is about 1 page. It could possibly be 1.5 pages, and that just determines if, per se, you're adding projects. Like you want to add more projects, or you're doing some online events, you want to add more stuff. So 1.5 pages tops. If you have mid-level experience, it could be 2 to 3.5 pages. The only industry I know that's past 4 pages is the industry I'm in, which is government space. Government, they want a whole bunch of extra fluff. So sometimes those resumes are like 6 pages, 7 pages. It all depends. So I just want you to be mindful that of how many pages my resume should be if I'm just starting out. So that is my demo, my live demos on the resumes. So my last thing I'm going to do is just show you all the new job searching board that I like now. It gives me all warmth and fuzzies. No, but I really like it a lot. So I'm going to share that. And I'm going to give you an example on why I focus on the industry so much. Okay, hopefully you all can see my screen. So this is the site. It's called Build 10. And they actually have, you can navigate different ways, but they have ways where you could find my tech hub if you're in a big location. I think, let's see, I think they have Chicago. Oh, they do. Okay, so for you all, we're going to try Chicago. So for Chicago, here are some companies, tech companies that are big in Chicago. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to use Karen resume as an example. As I told you before, if she wanted to focus her job search on, because her banking background, she could look at fintech companies. For Antoine, he could focus on healthcare, the healthcare industry, because that's where all his background comes from. So the reason why I say focus on the industry first, because that'll give you a clear view of, okay, I already know about this industry. Let me see what other companies are out there. And that just basically breaking down your job search a little bit more simpler instead of being overwhelmed and just applying to any industry, any job, and you're just all over the place and just applying to any company out there. So I'm going to give you all. I'm going to go back. What I also like about this website is that they focus on these jobs here. So, for example, when I'm using the site, I'm using it for project management roles because that's what I'm looking for right now. But let's just say you have a creative background. Maybe you want to do design and UX. They have design and UX, which is also a side of cybersecurity, which would be under the NIST 800-181 cybersecurity workforce document, which is my document that I live and breathe. I know that back in front, I have a course on that as well. But that is could be up under the software development side, which is under the security provision side within that document. You will also do developer engineering, as I said before, like you got finance background, look at that. So any industry, I just want you to remember, all industries need cyber professionals. You just need to know what industry you want to focus on first for your job search, then focus on the company size. So, for example, here, startups, they probably have, depending on how fast the startup is going, it might range between a smaller one might be 1 to 10 employees, then it'll go up to 200 to 500, 500 to 1,000, and like 1,000 to 5,000. It depends. Now, note, if you want to work at a big tech company, my advice is to network or get a referral with someone at a big tech company because you will basically get lost into I call it the black hole of the ATS system. So if you want to work at a big tech company, my rule of thumb is get a referral, network with people, especially in a role that you are interested in. So I'll give you an example of what I've been doing with my job search. So for my job search, I have been reaching out to people that I'm interested in at certain companies because I'm all about the company culture, which basically, do you treat your employees right? Do I have room for growth? I need to make sure I'm not working in a hot mess environment, toxic environment. So I make sure I interview people to get their feedback on what their experience is. And then sometimes, depending on the person, they might give me a referral. It all depends. But that's just another networking technique you can use as well. So don't be afraid to go out there and network and just, as I call it, I think it's called cold messaging people. So that's another way you can network. But I just wanted to show you all this website, a great resource to use if you want to focus on remote and startup companies. So now I'm going to stop talking and you all could start asking questions. Dr. Mo, can you start recording because I want to show them this
Sure.
resource.
I just want to ask one thing
Mhm.
because we talked a lot about the resumes you brought up, but just a quick item about those that want to work in the federal workforce. Or should I stop recording? Okay, let me stop recording. All right. Well, first, let me thank you for coming. I want to thank. We have students from, of course, Illinois Institute of Technology, University of Minnesota, University of Missouri St. Louis, and Capital Technology University. So I do want to thank everybody for coming out. And I'm going to stop recording, and then we can talk offline.